All right, we are live. Thank you for joining. It is noon on the dot. Those of you who know me know I like to get started on time. So, thanks for joining us today. We are excited to bring to you and talk about the compliance countdown. Doesn't that sound exciting? I know everybody stopped what they were doing and was like, you know what? I need to eat my lunch. Listening to April talk about compliance countdown and important dates for plan sponsors and all that you need to do. I know that's what you were thinking. So before we jump into it, I do have obviously some specific dates that I'm going to go over with you and make sure you understand what's coming up, what has already passed. So if you see something today and you're like, oh, maybe I didn't do that yet, or am I in trouble? Was I supposed to do that? It's okay. I just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. And these are essential deadlines for plan sponsors. And when we talk about plan sponsors, what I don't want to do is assume that everybody knows exactly the language and jargon that we use, even plan sponsors, and to no fault of their own at all. Our industry is so confusing. Don't even know if they're a plan sponsor. So our language, we were talking about this, like we're talking about our audience of plan sponsors. What are plan sponsors doing? No, they're plan sponsors. So what does that even mean? So want to go over that quickly before we jump into specific dates. So who are we talking to? Why are we doing this? So who we're talking to are those that help manage or run a retirement plan. And when I say a retirement plan, I'm referring to a workplace retirement plan. So a 401k, 403b, maybe a simple IRA, but they don't have as many regulations and these deadlines don't apply to that. But in general, when we say plan sponsor, we're thinking of somebody who is in charge of running or offering this retirement plan benefit. And so with 401ks and 403bs, they are heavily regulated by several departments. And so there are specific rules and regulations and deadlines that they have to follow, because this is really the whole purpose of having a 401k or 403b is a workplace benefit plan, but it's something that is a uh, tax efficient way to save money. So if the government's going to give you a break on your taxes on something, they're going to have some regulation around it and how it needs to be used and how you need to make sure it's, not discriminatory, like just only the owners are the ones contributing, or you're trying to exclude everybody from contributing just so that you don't have to put money into the plan, all those things. So there's a lot of regulation around the 401k and the 403b. And the three main, I would say, I like I want to use English. So the three main components or people that help you run your plan are one, again, a record keeper. And why our language is so boring. There's nothing else to say about it. I mean, our record keeper, like clearly they keep their records. But what that is, that's usually like whoever the name is. If you think about where you log in, www.blank, and you see your account balance and you can make your changes to your beneficiaries or your contribution amounts, that's your record keeper. What their role is really just keeping the records. Very creative, right? But usually, and some have expanded roles and some do everything for you. And no two record keepers are the same. But whatever it is, in general, they're the ones that are keeping all the records of your employees, making sure everything is intact, that they can log in, that they can see their balances. They're actually holding the money there in trust. They're actually the ones that have, when you go and you say, what investments do I want? And you look on that menu, that's where you're going to look and see what investment options you have. So you can make those selections. And that's where everything is kept. So think beneficiaries, your amount that you're putting in. You can usually have financial wellness tools that are there. If you want to go and see, am I on track for retirement? Usually that stuff is there through your record keeper. The next part, which might be the most important, is your third party administrator or TPA. And again, the language there, it's like third parties, or are they part of me? Or are they not? Like what? I get this question all the time. Like I literally recently got a question like, who is this bill that I'm sending? I send it to them all the time, but like, why am I sending this? Who are they? So your TPA or your third party administrator, that's what our focus is today. Because when we go over these dates, a lot of the time it's the TPA that's actually making sure these things happen. So your third party administrator, I like to think of them kind of, they are super important and like keep you out of jail. Let's think of it that way. But what they really do though is really the administration of the plan. So you have to have testing done. Like I was talking about, discrimination testing. You need to make sure that's done. You have to have an official plan document. And so like I said, not all, just like not all record keepers are the same, or no two record keepers are the same, no two TPAs are the same. Some will take on all the fiduciary responsibility of doing everything. They're signing your 5,500, they're preparing all the notices, sending them out to your employees. If you have loans on your plan or distributions, they're the ones that are take processing those and approving those and all the things. So it's almost like a menu of what you can decide you want to hand over and say, hey, can you handle that for me? The third party administrator can do a lot of that. And especially with the testing and keeping you on track, I would say an example of when we work with our TPAs, when I do annual reviews, I make sure the TPA is there because their calendar and all the things that they have to do, there's a lot. So we want to make sure notices went out. We want to make sure, like we said, our testing was passed, the 5,500 was filed, all those things. So I'll get into that a little bit more when we talk specifically about what the dates are, but no, the dates that we're talking about, most of the things are if you have a TPA on your plan, your TPA can help you with these. Side note, there are plans that don't have TPAs, and that is all done by, they have these bundled plans. So somebody's doing it for you, or you might be doing some of this stuff on your own. And then the third one are the plan advisors. So you have your record keeper, your third party administrator, and your plan advisor. That's folks like us. So what do we do? What is our job? So our role, a few different things. I like to think of it as we are here for the participants, and for the participants, we mean your employees or your team members or whatever you call them. We're the go-to for your employees, making sure they understand the education around the plan, financial wellness, making sure they have educational webinars or in person, depending on what it is. Also helping them, depending on your advisor. Again, no two plan advisors are the same. So depending on what type of advisor you have on your plan, they may work one-on-one with your employees. What we do is a chat with a planner day. So I just had one, it was Wednesday, yesterday. So our calendars were open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and employees could just schedule a call or a Zoom and ask any financial question they want. So that's actually kind of fun. I really enjoy that part. So the plan advisor is, on that side for the employees, but also for the plan sponsor, the employer. We do the fiduciary training, make sure they understand what their responsibilities are, conduct the meetings, whether they're quarterly or annually, doing the minutes for those kind of meetings, helping them with the provider. So we're really in the center, depending on what advisor you do, the way we work, we are in the center. So we are in the center, we're working with the TPA, we're working with the record keeper, but our plans call us. They don't know, like, is this a record keeper question? Is this a TPA? They don't know. They call us. And so they're like, hey, I need help with the audit. We need these reports. Where do I get those from? So we'll go get them and then copy them and let them know where, who has that information for them. So that is a quick overview, a 30,000 foot view of who's running this plan. You have your record keeper, your TPA, and your advisor. And what we're going to look at now are what are some of these dates that are very important that you need to do. And I will, full disclaimer, the font is going to be small on here. So anybody that wants this, I will absolutely send it out. But I'm going to flash it on the screen and then talk. I'm not going to talk through all of these, but I'm going to talk through a couple of the important quote unquote ones. So again, it's super small, but I want to thank Crawford Retirement Group and Megan Crawford for providing this. She is one of our preferred TPAs that we work with. And so we'll be happy to send this out to you if you want to afterwards. But the first, and I'm going to come back on, but the first ones that we want to look at, January 31st and March 15th. So January 31st, that is your deadline to distribute your 1099-Rs to participants who had distributions. Okay, so again, sorry it's small, but I wanted to make sure you see what you can just let me know, reach out, and I'll get that to you. So that first deadline, and where are we? It's March. So January 31st is passed. So you want to make sure that's the deadline to distribute 1099-Rs to participants. So what a 1099-R is, they've received a distribution. And so depending on your plan, and there's many reasons why, but you just need to understand those should have already been sent out to plan participants who took a distribution in the plan year. They took something out of the retirement plan. So that is one that needs to be done. Check, make sure you have that one done. The next one that's coming up tomorrow, March 15th. So that's the due date for funding employer contributions for any of the entities that are taxed as an S Corp. or partnerships that, if you've not filed for an extension, a lot of people file for extension. So maybe the 15th doesn't mean anything to them. But if you don't file for an extension, the 15th is very important and it's tomorrow. If that you have to have your employer contributions in if you're an S Corp. So think about that. Also, this is the deadline for distributing the ADP and ACP refunds. That language just made me want to like gag without getting a penalty. What those are, when we talked about discrimination, when your TPA does your testing, they'll do the testing and see if you passed your non-discrimination testing. If you didn't, and that means like all the owners put everything in and nobody else did, they're like, this is not fair. If you're not in a safe harbor plan, if you're in a safe harbor plan, forget about it. You're okay. But if you're not, they're going to say, uh-oh, you guys put way too much in. You did not benefit your employees. This is not fair. So you're going to have to like put some of that back and it can be a mess. So just know, yeah, 24 hours to solve that if you haven't solved it already. Again, and the next one I'm going to talk about is April 1st. So a little bit of time still. I'm thinking about this. I might need to get this one out earlier, a little earlier next year, but this is when the required minimum distribution, or the RMDs, due to participants who were 73 or older during the plan year who didn't take an RMD the year before by 12/31. So you want to think about that if you have employees or participants who are around the 73 age. I'm not going to go through April. There's some other ones. Again, you guys can look through all of these and read them. I'm going to look at the ones that I think are the most important. And I did just get a question if I could flash it back up, and absolutely I can. I don't know if you're taking a screenshot, but just send me any inbox or something, and I will send this over to you so that you can see it and print it out and have it with you. Okay, so the next one I am going to talk about is July 31st. So this is the deadline to file for an extension of your 5500 form if you have to file one for the calendar year. So July 31st is something that you still have time to do. So you want to make sure that is taken care of. And this is something that's good. Maybe you reach out to if you have a TPA, or if it's your record keeper that's providing this service for you, just be like, hey, are we on track for these deadlines, or is everything taken care of? Because remember, although even if you have a third-party administrator taking care of this, or even if you have somebody that's doing this for you and making sure these things are going out, you're still responsible. You're still the fiduciary on the plan. So you still need to make sure it's getting done. You want to have some documentation. Usually we have a checklist that we go through every year, and we make sure everything is documented. We know exactly when it was filed, what are the dates, when do the notices get sent out. All of those things need to be documented. Like seriously, just if you have a plan in place and you're documenting things and you know that things are happening, you're going to be way better off than just kind of like assuming or hoping that things are happening. So we talked about September 15th. This is the due date for funding, or did I don't know if I think I stopped at July 15th. See, I'm going on, or July 31st. September 15th, the due date for funding employer contributions if you're an export. So we talked a little bit about earlier when we talked about funding the employer contributions for entities being taxed in S Corp for the 15th. The March 15th, let me get the 15th right. So March 15th is if you're on time. September 15th, if you file for an extension, you still need to get your contributions in by September 15th if you're on that extension train, and you're going to do those a little bit later. September 30th, your summary annual reports are due to participants. And then October 1st, I'm going to pause here a little bit because I'm going to talk about, it says the deadline to start a safe harbor 401k plan. So I can't just leave you hanging and just say, hey, just start it. What is a safe harbor 401k plan? So just briefly, if you have a safe harbor plan, think of it, it literally is like a safe harbor. They kind of name that a little bit to make sense, like you're standing under something that's safe. So if you have a plan that is a safe harbor plan, it is really helping you get past those discrimination tests. So you would think, well, why wouldn't everybody do a safe harbor plan? Like, duh, I want to be safe from whatever the government is going to make me do. Well, it comes with something, of course. So the way that you are a safe harbor plan is you are committing to contributing to your employees. So usually it's a safe harbor match. There are many different ways to do that, but it could be a match or a non-elective. We're not going to get into that's not today's topic, but just know that you have to commit to giving all employees. So once they become eligible, and you can have some criteria around when they become eligible for the safe harbor match, if we're talking about a match here, but you're saying, hey, Anybody that's in the plan, if they've been here, whatever your criteria is, work 12 months and 1,000 hours, whatever it is, they're going to be eligible to get this match. So I'm telling the government or the that I, as an employer, am giving equal opportunities to my employees. Everybody that puts in can get a match. So I'm not discriminating. I'm not saying I'm just going to put everything in and not let anybody else contribute or benefit from the plan. So that safe harbor says you are being a good citizen and a really good employer, and you're putting funds in for your employees if they opt to get into the plan. So you got to let people know when this is happening, and there's some rules and regulations on when they start. So you don't want to. The reason they have this deadline in there, um, that you have to have the notices out, is because think about it. Like, this is a really good benefit. So if you're going to start a safe harbor plan and you want to have them take advantage of it, you don't want to start like, hey, the last day of the year, I'm going to start this plan. Oh man, shoot, you didn't get to take advantage of it. That's great. I did. No. So that's why there are some deadlines in place. You have to get it started by then. And you also there's a lot of notifications that need to go out in regard to the safe harbor plan. And so you can see even October 15th. Oh, excuse me. October 15th is the due date for funding employer contributions. We had talked about October 15th, or yeah, October 15th, the deadline. Sorry. Um, the IRS deadline to file amendments. That was the one I wanted to talk about on October 15th, the deadline for retroactive amendments to correct something. So if you mess something up with that discrimination, you have until October 15th. But what I was really getting to was December 1st, and why you want to have that plan started in October, because you have to have these safe harbor, your qualified, the QDIA, I'll talk about that, notices sent out to participants. So they have time to look and see, oh, this is a benefit that's being offered by my employer. And the deadline to send out to elect safe harbor status for the current year with non-elective contributions, we'll talk about that as December 1st. But really what I want you to take away from this is it's your responsibility as an employer to let people know that the plan exists and know exactly what this matching contribution is going to be. And so those are the notices that you need to send out to your employees ahead of time so that they can know and they can plan to be a part of your amazing employee benefit. I mean, really, this is an employee benefit. So I know I'm going through this quickly, but I wanted to pause and see if there are any questions. I will pop this back up for a second while I check for questions. All right, let me see. Oh, that was an old one. I put it back up on the screen. I hope that helped. Send me an email if you want them, or if you want this. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think I've answered a couple, the questions that came in before, I think I've clarified those. They're about specific dates. It's on here, and I'll send this out to you so that you'll have it. And the last two dates that I do want to go over, the December 15th, that you can kind of see it down there. So for the December 15th, this is the extended deadline for providing that summary annual report to participants if your 5,500 deadline was extended. So think about, like, whenever you file your taxes, if you file them on time, then you have the on-time deadlines to get your notices and everything out. If you file extensions, it's going to push that back. I mean, it makes sense that if you have an extension on filing this, you don't want to like send out the notices and you haven't even filed. Like, wait, what? They'd get these notices and be like, huh? So that's how those deadlines line up with when you're filing things. So September 30th was the first one we talked about. Summary annual reports are due to participants for the calendar year, but if you extended filing your 5,500, you have until December 15th. And then December 31st, RMDs are due to participants who were 73 and older during the current plan year. So this RMD, I am going to pause on that because somebody did ask. It was kind of related to the RMDs, but they were talking about getting money out of the plan. So I'm going to turn this off for a sec. RMDs, what are RMDs, and why is this number 73? So required minimum distributions are, there was a change recently on the dates or the ages. So those of us that have been in the industry for a little bit of time, we've always been used to 70 and a half. Like when you hit 70 and a half, you have to start taking money out of your retirement plan. And so your IRAs, whatever they are, not your Roths, you don't have to take money out of those, but it's time to start taking money out. And then I think it was Secure 2.0. I think so. One of my fellow retirement plan nerds can uh, yeah, confirm. I think it was Secure 2.0 that changed it. When now it's gradually going up. So it's like it was 72, now it's 73. So either whatever the age is, you can literally just Google what year you were in, what year you were born, and it'll tell you what your RMD age is. And then when you hit that age, you're required to take money a specific amount, and they will definitely let you know. Your advisor will let you know, or um, you will get notification. Trust me, because there's a hefty penalty, which they did lower, but it is still a hefty penalty if you don't take out what you were supposed to take out. So if you think about this, like, why? What? I don't want to take money out. What if you don't need it? What if you have a pension and you're fine living on your, Social Security, or you just don't want to take those funds out? Well, you have to, because they're going to take, I think it's 25%. It used to be 50% of what you should have taken. And the reason it is just think about these are pre-tax dollars. So you started working 30 years ago and put money into this 401k, and you haven't paid taxes on it because it went in pre-tax and it grew 30 years tax deferred. So the government's kind of like, yeah, we need to collect some money on that. Like we haven't had any tax revenue from that for a long time. So we're going to make them take it out so that we can have some taxes. I mean, that is my general interpretation of it. It's a little more flushed out and detailed when you look at the actual language of the IRS, but that's pretty much what it means. They want to collect some tax revenue, so they're gonna make you take money out of your plan, out of your retirement accounts, any of those pre-tax accounts. So that's what we're talking about when we say RMD age is 73. When you hit that you have to. So really, when you're thinking about financial planning and if you're not closer to that 70 age and you still have time, you may want to think about or talk with your advisor, your accountant, whoever your financial team is, thinking about should I diversify how I'm going to have to take out taxes? And a lot of your 401ks and 403bs have Roth contribution options as well. So you can put money in and not take the tax deduction today, but when you take it out, you're not going to pay taxes on it. So there may be a good combination for your personal situation, that when you finally start thinking about retirement and where you're pulling your money from to fund your retirement, it's nice to have some that's going to be tax free. And then maybe you have some that was pre-tax that you have to have in there, or some of the employer contributions had to go in that bucket. So I would say talk with your financial professionals and see if that makes sense for you to kind of diversify your buckets of money you're going to be pulling from when you hit retirement, to kind of ease your tax burden. Because if you imagine you have a lot of money you have to take out, and then you got to pay taxes on that, if you weren't ready for that or didn't even need that, that can come as a surprise. So all of that said, that's what basically an RMD is. All right. Any other questions today? I want to thank Crawford Retirement Group. Megan Crawford and her team over there they are awesome. This is where this came from. So again, I will send this to you. I'm sure if you reach out to them, they will send it to you as well. But I want to thank them for sending this. This is the Defined Contribution Plan Compliance Calendar. They are a preferred TPA of ours that we use. So remember, that's third-party administrator. So they help keep us all compliant. Also, when you're starting a new plan, they help you design your plan. We've been working together on a couple of opportunities now, like really honing in and designing what it is. How do you want this plan? All of them are not just in a box. Some people have specific needs or what they need their plan to look like, or how they're trying to contribute the most that they can as an employer so that they can save on taxes. So working with a TPA by your side and bringing them to the table from the beginning, for us is just invaluable. So there are plenty of third-party administrators out there. Find a couple that you love and can work with. And we'll be sure to send this out to you, though, just so you have this as a reference. So thank you again for joining. I'm April Pope. It was fun to see you here, and I will see you again soon. All right. Have a great rest of the day.